Cachamaniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
Well, welcome. You found us. This is GeoGearHeads. This is episode 310. We're talking about Munzee and so much more. I'm Chris of the Northwest, along with our illustrious, our infamous, well, it's Daryl W4. I don't need to say anything more.
Infamous? Is this all because I was on that other show with Scott and, talking about all that weird stuff that happens in the What's Up Internet universe?
I don't know what you mean.
Oh, that's probably good then.
You're more than famous. You're infamous.
Okay.
No?
Infamous?
Yeah, that's beyond famous.
So that's like beyond the D-lebrity?
Yeah. D-lebrity, I like that.
Oh, that's one you and okay.
No, I didn't go there with it. I was going Three Amigos on you.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
oh, that's another old one.
Yes. El Guapo.
It's just kind of been one of those months where it's all about the old movies and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got a couple of guests.
Plethora of old things to talk about.
Well, this time we're not talking so much about the old things, but we've got a couple of guests on because Coach V had to run away, and he left a couple of his minions here to talk with us. So Matt and Dylan, welcome to the show.
Howdy, thanks for having us.
How's it going, guys?
Thanks for coming on and stepping in to fill his shoes and his jacket, it looks like. Dylan, Did you actually steal that from him?
No. I'm a few sizes bigger than old Rob. I just make him buy some for me as well. But no, this is not the first or last time we have to step into his shoes / jacket.
No, but I know he was disappointed he couldn't be on tonight, but he allowed us to come on.
I think that's more what it was.
Yeah, it was allowing, but no, we're glad to be here.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks again for jumping in.
Dylan, isn't that the official company uniform you're wearing?
Oh, more or less, yeah.
Okay.
So, again, this is probably a sidebar, but if you haven't heard about Opposutes, go ahead and check them out. But, I guess it was like 3 years ago, Rob randomly came across this company and was like, hey, we should get some of these suits. And look, me and him got 2 Christmas suits, and this was, again, 3 or 4 years ago, and now our entire closets are made up of them. We pulled Matt in, pulled a few of our other employees, and now it's, again, the official company uniform, more or less.
We're pretty colorful, if you haven't noticed.
Exactly. Much better than a black tie.
Yeah, anybody can wear a red shirt and khaki pants.
Exactly. Jake from State Farm.
All right, so let's start off with a little bit of background on each of you. And Dylan, why don't you go first?
Cool. Yeah, so as you'll find out when Matt talks, we started about the same time, but in 2014, I started working for Munzee. Bit of a funny story. I was actually a journalist before this, and kind of couldn't find myself with a job, so I randomly started to apply into places in McKinney, which is where I grew up, and actually found a writing job with Munzee. They say that they just read my cover letter and created a job for me because they certainly didn't need one at the time. But I started running our blog and some of our social media and stuff like that, and essentially just throwing myself into any job that they needed, including construction or whatever. And my role has grown within the company. A couple years ago, I took over Munzee, which is our photo scavenger hunt app, and then now I'm currently in the role of manager of creative operations. So I deal with all the artists and, all the fun ideas and actually keeping them in line so that these ideas can come to fruition.
Sweet.
And then Matt, what's your story?
I actually knew Rob and a couple of other employees from being hockey supporters of our local hockey team. And so I was in college looking for something to do over the summer, and they said, well, hey, would you want to be an intern at Munzee? And I said, yeah, sure. You know, I kind of know what it is. I downloaded it when both of them started working there. So came in, and for about 2.5 years, I was affectionately known as the intern.
Yeah, so it's a gloriously understated job because he was essentially just a full-time employee with not the pay. So we appreciated it.
Yeah. And so over the past week, I graduated college 2 years ago now. Only 2. Jeez. And started, you know, really technically full-time, and basically anything anyone needed me to doing basically anything anybody needed me to. But I'm currently kind of co-head Munzee, the actual app, with Rob, and do a lot of our physical production stuff.
Very good. And now it was about oh shoot. It's a couple of months ago that you guys stopped being Munzee employees and started as freeze tag employees, correct?
Freeze tag employees, yes. Which was about as much of a shock to you all as it was to us. There was not a whole lot of heads up there. The freeze tag guys are some guys that we had worked with previously, helping them out on their app Garfield Go, and then one day Rob was like, "Hey, so we're merging with them," and it's actually been a really cool experience because that's so different from what we've done in the past. We have very much been kind of the, you know, garage company that, you know, we just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks, and now being in a little bit more of a corporate environment has certainly shown some new sides of this business that weren't readily apparent for us.
I think it goes both ways. You know, they're a very kind of close-knit team, and bringing in not only just new employees, but different apps and different ways to play games has been kind of eye-opening for both sides. And we've really enjoyed getting to know them over the past couple months, I guess. And I hope they've enjoyed getting to know us. And now we're, you know, one big happy family.
Yeah, it's funny because even though we're not the you know, the more corporate side, which I would consider freeze tag, we actually had more employees coming into this. So we were the guys with the big office, and so they're kind of getting used to managing larger teams as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, again, you know, I think it's been a little bit since Rob was on here last, but we recently moved in, well, not recently, but in May moved into a much bigger office space than we had. Because when Matt and I both started working, we were working in a 300 square foot office with 6 or 7 of us.
We got to 7 people in 350 square feet.
Yeah, and so from there grew into, you know, our downtown McKinney spot, which also opened up the Munzee Marketplace, and then just this May came to a little more into McKinney, a little outside of downtown McKinney, but to a 14,000 square foot office space. So we all get our own offices, which is super cool.
For the time being.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we still like to stick about 6 or 7 in there just to see.
Just in case. And then we also have a nice, you know, at the time, our Munzee mural in the back, and it's, you know, Munzee is still cornerstone of the company, and our community, our players mean the world to us. The guys who came over, or from Freeze Tag, we originally merged with, were here for MHQ Bash, saw what an amazing community we have, and are just blown away by how great everyone is. And it's definitely been an eye-opening experience for everybody, I think.
Yeah, I think that was the interesting thing about the work that the Freeze Tag guys were doing before this, and that just a lot of different styles of games. But the community aspect that Munzee holds so highly wasn't really a part of that. So for them to come in and see, you know, come to MHQ Bash and see all of our players firsthand, and the dedication there, I think was, you know, enormously eye-opening for them.
Interesting. Can you guys go over some of the properties of the games that Freeze Tag now supports and has ownership of?
Yeah, so again, so they've had a lot of games that have kind of come and gone, and a lot of like puzzle games like Kitty Pop and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But their big one that they brought to the table when we first started talking is Garfield Go, which is an augmented reality geolocation game. The biggest comparison that gets thrown around is Pokemon Go, but essentially the Garfield the cat character, you have to help him find treasure and actually, again, go to geolocations and earn coins to buy different items and stuff like that.
Play mini games. You know, there's quite a few different things you can do within the game, and it's definitely a lot different from what we've done in the past. You know, and definitely something they've done differently in the past. And so now we've got what, 5 apps now?
So again, you know, Freeze Tag kind of owns that as their current game that most of their focus has been on. But then on our side, what we brought to the table was obviously Munzee, the 21st century scavenger hunt, the virtual collecting game, Eventsy, the photo scavenger hunt, and we're actually in development on a new app with that has been kind of our first big group project called Z Tours, which is a self-guided city scavenger hunt app, which we can certainly get into more detail about, but it's nearing its release, so we'll have lots of information about that soon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Z Tour thing sounds really interesting to me, because that's kind of why I got into caching, was for some kind of like guided tour kind of thing.
Exactly.
That's something that isn't even out yet.
Yeah, no. And so, you know, guided tours are, you know, obviously all over the place. But I think the big thing that all of these geolocation games have kind of taught us, and mostly from the player perspective, is just how little you actually know about the world around you and the history around you. And there's so many things that, you know, sure, you know, a visitor's bureau or somebody who's lived there for the last, you know, 30 years may know, but I mean, even living in a place for the last 20 years, you know, there's things I don't know about in McKinney where I live. So this was a bit of a test, one, to see, you know, how our groups work together, but also taking the idea of, you know, expanding or, you know, investigating history in areas and making that into a congestible platform.
Oddly enough, very similar to kind of Munzee and Eventsy in a way. I'm deploying Munzees in my hometown or somewhere where I live. I'm going to put them at places that I'm that I'm used to, and a lot of times those places aren't the ones that show up on a visitor's map. You know, it's somewhere that's actually close to home. And then you have the Eventsy aspect where you're taking pictures, you're exploring places, you're trying to find something new.
You know, answering trivia questions and stuff like that.
Very cool. So it sounds kind of
Eventsy
like
was presented.
Oh, I'm sorry, we lost you for a moment there, but it sounds like it's kind of like a virtual geocaching scenario.
Yeah, a little bit. So again, you know, there's still obviously that real world aspect, but yeah, so you're the basic way it works is you're given a GPS location to start your tour at. And then from there are various challenges that will drive you to different parts and kind of inform you of different areas.
Yeah.
And we've got 4 different challenges. We've got compass challenges, which again, you know, take you to specific areas. And once you reach that location, you confirm your location. We've got photo challenges, which have you take photos either with points of interest or at points of interest. Or then we've got trivia challenges, which again test your knowledge of an area, and then just fun facts for, you know, just little bits of history to go as you're, you know, going on your tour. And so this kind of whole opportunity actually stemmed from a opportunity with Eventsy initially, where we had Groupon reach out to us wanting to offer some sort of self-guided scavenger hunts for major cities. And we knew that Eventsy was a platform that could work for it, but it wasn't the perfect platform for that. So we kind of took bits and pieces from a lot of our different games and kind of combined them into this new app, Z Tours. And it's been a really interesting development process, a lot different than what we've done in the past, simply because we're working in different platforms. We're working in Unity for this, whereas some of our other apps we've done in different platforms. but also, again, working with the freeze tag staff who are much more organized than we are on the Munzee side. So it's actually been a really speedy process, which is good. And we've used Munzee players to beta test a lot of the areas. We used some family and friends as well to like scout areas out and stuff like that. So it's been, I mean, again, it's still right at the core value of our company and, you know, combining the real world and gaming. But it's been a really fun experience so far.
Sounds like it could be really interesting. I'm anxious to give it a shot. Is there a timetable for its release?
Yes. Soon is the most obvious answer I can say.
What's probably in the next 1,000 hours?
Yeah,
his
next
go-to
1,000
line.
hours. I think it's less than 1,000 hours, thankfully. But so there should be some news about that here soon. But we're actually preparing for all of that because we also have to release it with Groupon. So working with their marketing side and choosing the ideal date. So we'll definitely have more information about that. If you visit ztoursapp.com, there's currently just a coming soon page there, but that information will be updated soon.
Very soon.
And so, and again, you know, to kind of thank you all for having us on here, as well as, you know, everybody who's willing to listen to us ramble on for a little bit. We wanted to offer a discount to people who may be interested in trying out a Z Tour. And if you guys just send an email to info@ztoursapp.com with GeoGearHeads in the subject line, we'll get you some more information on all that, because with something like this, you know, you have to put in a lot of time and testing to make sure that these real world locations are actually working. So we're having a bit smaller of a launch from the get-go. We're going to be launching in 6 cities, but hoping to expand that to 20 over the next couple weeks from there, and then up to 50 within the first quarter.
Yeah.
So we're launching in Orange, California, Dallas, Texas, San Antonio, Texas, Austin, Texas, Naples, Florida, and Fort Myers, Florida. Those just are some kind of hot spots for obviously where our offices are located, but also some good spots for players. And so again, while that's certainly a limited amount of cities for launch, we're also really looking for suggestions as well. So info at ztoursapp.com is also a good place to send those as well.
Excellent. I'll send the email as soon as I can, but I'll wait till we're off the show.
Yeah, that's all right. We appreciate taking your time with that.
So that does sound really exciting. Now, you mentioned that you've been working with some of the other players and family members and stuff to get things populated. Can you talk a little bit about how that's going to happen in the future, especially as you try to expand? Is that going to be something, again, that we as users can submit?
Yeah, so, and again, this is all still fairly early in the release of all this. And again, I don't necessarily know what I can say, what I can't say, but the intention is certainly to develop a more friendly tool for people to be able to create hunts that can then be approved by us and used. And so we're thinking, you know, of how exactly we want that program to work, so that it works as best as it can, but also offer the opportunity for the actual locals to submit things like that. Because, I mean, while we're amazing at research and finding all of the stops in these tours, to have a fresh like pair of eyes on the ground there is really helpful. So again, you know, the more suggestions we can get, the better idea that we can gather of, you know, kind of where we expand to.
Yeah, we started off with, you know, kind of a list of areas that we thought would be popular, people would want to go to. And so we put them together mostly from, you know, online sources. Some of us had a little more intimate knowledge of places, but we put them together, and then well, oftentimes it was just us going out, testing them, see kind of what worked, what didn't.
Well, and a lot of them coincided with Munzee events that were happening. We essentially sent Matt and Rob out to test these in their quote unquote free time.
I'm
before and after
3 hours
events.
away from this location. I can drive over there and do that.
Yeah, because you tested what, 3 Missouri ones?
Yeah, I did. I had 3 events in Missouri in 2 weeks and did 3 Z tours within that time. And so they had actually set them up from California. I went out and tested them, came back, gave some feedback, and then all of us were just too close to it. You have to, after working on that project for so long, and I'm, wasn't completely involved in it most of the time, but I did have some to do with it. We actually called upon some of our players in the area and people who were traveling and said, hey, would you mind testing this out for us? What do you think? We be honest with us, because if it's not good, let us know. We think it's good because we've been working on it for months.
Yeah, well, and again, it's easy to look online and say, oh yeah, here are 50 points of interest that are super interesting. Why wouldn't you want to go to those? And getting people on the ground, they have a lot more opinion about that. Rob did a Z Tour test in I think it was Rome, Georgia, and it was like, yeah, there was so much cool stuff, but you should really let people know about this super steep hill they're going to have to climb, because I nearly died going up of it. So again, getting the people to actually test these things is a bit more time consuming, but it's just so important for the overall experience.
Well, and I even had I didn't quite tell them what I was doing, but I said, hey, I'm testing something out. I'm going down to this area, and some of the people from there said, oh, we've heard it's really cool, but we've never done that. We've never tried going to that area. And so I beat people who had lived there for 10 plus years to it. And I had a great time and went back and told them, hey, go try this. It's actually a really cool thing to do and thing to experience. And yeah, I hope they felt the same way.
Yeah, we sent Rob to one in Dallas, where he's grown up for most of his life, and he went in a little cocky, like oh yeah, I know all these spots, whatever. And he came back, he was like, wow, there is so much about downtown Dallas that I had no clue about. So again, it's a learning experience for us. So we're really excited to see what the feedback is, once we do launch these cities.
Yeah,
nice. Guys, how long does a Z Tour take on average?
So it kind of varies, but usually within the 1 to 2 hour range, anywhere from kind of 1.5 to 4 miles.
Okay.
Yeah, so it definitely gets you out there and moving. But the other aspect of it is, we don't want you to have to rush through this and have some time limit or anything like that. We want you to enjoy yourselves. We send you to various, local spots, whether that's restaurants or, dessert shops or something like that. And we're like, hey, feel free to stop in and have an ice cream cone for 30 minutes or whatever, and then continue it. So we really do want this to be a laid back and fun experience.
So there's no time frame to finish. Can you do it across multiple days, multiple visits?
You can. And so again, more detail will be kind of released when we actually do launch. But the idea is that you'll have all the time you need to actually complete. And want to pick it back up with them. You can always check back at your progress and your completed list and see, jump right back into it all. The other interesting aspect is that we're looking at a lot of tours online and stuff like that, and oddly enough, a lot of them just had people kind of going in straight lines, and then by the end of their tour, they had to call a cab to get back to their car. But of ours is actually making circular routes for all of our tours, so you'll always end where you started, so that way you don't find yourself in the middle of downtown Atlanta without a ride home.
Yeah,
that's always
very
good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is there any reward for completing a tour?
So currently, we're going to launch with a leaderboard and stuff like that, and points based to encourage people to try more. But there's been a lot of talk about what kind of some rewards and prize systems could look like, especially from the since we do a lot of production stuff on the Munzee side. Looking at what kind of offerings there could be. One of the things that Garfield Go does that nothing really on the Munzee side does is offer real world prizes like Amazon gift cards and stuff like that. So they've kind of figured out the logistical side of that. So yeah. I could easily see that being something input into Z Tours at a later date. There's no current plans for that, but again, getting it out and launching it is the main priority.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And then, is there any plans to expand outside of the U.S. Later on, or is it just going to be a U.S.
Hopefully
based
not
game?
even that much later on. Again, since this is such a you know kind of universal app, the only thing that's really impeding any growth is language barriers. Since there's a lot of content that has to be produced, but we still definitely have plans to launch into English-speaking countries first, and then grow from there. We on the Munzee side, we have a big European player base, so we'll definitely be reaching out to players, one for suggestions, but also for translations and setups there. Again, sticking with U.S. cities for now, just again, since we can kind of control that a little bit better. But there's definitely plans within the near future to launch in more international cities.
Excellent. Let's move on, though, because there's a bunch of other stuff that's happening. And actually, there was an interesting question from Team Maviju, who was hoping that, freeze tag, I guess now, would consider... I'm sorry?
We're still getting used to it, too. We actually call ourselves Munzee Inc. all the time.
Yeah, which, that died, it's going to take you, what, about 4 or 5 years more?
Exactly. Well, and it's funny because we always complained about having Munzee Inc. as the company name because it was so confusing. Is it Munzee the game, Munzee the company? So we talked forever about coming up with a new name. So the decision was kind of made for us.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Team Maviju is asking, for, well, I guess not so much asking, but he's looking for a geolocation adventure game, kind of like Code Runners, and that kind of reminded me of Z-Ops. And that's one of those Munzee aspects that I still don't really understand.
That's all right. You're not totally alone there. So Z-Tour or Z-Ops was kind of created with the intention of offering kind of daily missions that people could complete and adding a narrative aspect to that. I'm a pretty narrative-driven guy, and so Munzee is definitely more point chasing and stuff like that. There isn't really a narrative side to it. So that was kind of our first foray into that. I think, Z-Ops may be a little difficult to the starting Munzee player, but it gives people the opportunity to chase down things that they may not usually. And so I know you guys have some plans for Z-Ops in the near future and the first quarter of next year to change up a few things, but again, just kind of put some renewed focus on that.
Yeah, that he's a pretty narrative-driven guy, and I would say probably at least half of the people who have done a Z-Op don't really know there's a narrative to it.
There is.
With all the videos and everything, and it's been good. We've obviously got suggestions. We like this, we don't like this. Could we do it this way instead? And so, really, one of our big focuses is looking at things like Z-Ops, things like Clan Wars, hopefully pretty soon, and going over seeing what changes we can make to make it better. Going back to that listener feedback or the player feedback and say, hey, this is working for everyone, this isn't. What can we do to make this the best it can be?
And also a common theme of what we're trying to work on is just new player retention and getting new players involved in programs like Clan Wars and Z-Ops, which maybe isn't totally apparent to them when they first start playing. We have such an awesome, dedicated player base that, knows everything. So, we rely on them to kind of inform new players a lot. But, taking a little bit more on our side to make this all a little easier to digest and jump into from a new player perspective.
So can you kind of give us a little bit of a starter course then on how to actually get in and play Z-Ops?
Yeah, so here, you jump on it first.
We probably both worked on it about the same. So if you go to zops.munzee.com, you'll be able to see the different types of missions you can do. So we have everything from what's the training mission?
So we've got different levels. The cadet op.
Cadet op is the first one. It's very simple for a new player to kind of get in, enjoy it, and we have everything from a 3 to a 14-day operation. So you go in, you choose which one you want, and you purchase it, quote unquote, using Zcred, which can be purchased from the Munzee online store, or there are many different ways throughout the game to earn it. Prize wheels, we give them out as clan rises sometimes.
By completing other Z-ops,
yeah.
You can get Zcred. Zcred is usually plentiful if you're looking for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so within each operation, there are daily missions. So if I choose a 7-day operation, I'll have 7 missions that I have to complete that are tied to specific requirements that have a story attached to them. And usually we have a kind of a theme running throughout each month. I believe this month is hotels, motels, and other destination Munzees. So what you'll do is you'll from the Z-Ops panel on the profile, you'll schedule out what day you want to start your operation, choose the missions for that operation, and then you kind of have to just tackle them each day that they come around.
Yeah, and the longer mission the longer operation you choose, the more difficult missions you have to do. So it can start anywhere from capture 10 Munzees in a day to earn 50,000 points in a day. We realize, there's some capture so many emeralds, and we've really over the past year and a half, 2 years tried to plan for that and spread out, things where accessibility isn't an issue anymore. It used to be, well, the nearest Munzee to me is 300 miles away, and now either there's something a lot closer than that, or you can get on to the one of the Facebook groups or your clan page or anything like that, and people are more than willing to help you out. And you can say, hey, I need 5 more captures for the day. Can somebody deploy something for me, and I'll return the favor. And so it's, well, it is a very individual portion of the game because you have to finish these missions for yourself. It's also a really good way to build community because you can interact with other players. If you have to deploy 100 greenies in a day and one of your friends has to capture 100 greenies in a day, you can schedule those out together and go and get everything done that you need to get done.
So what happens if you can't do one of the days? Because, like, for me, every Thursday is really, really busy because I work and then come home and do the show.
Exactly. So that's definitely part of internal discussions, because currently if you miss a day, you fail that mission and you have to restart it. I think the idea initially was that if you're going to have something busy for that day, choose an easier mission. But again, life can certainly throw you some curveballs. We understand that. So there's definitely some discussion internally about how we can maybe offer some more opportunities to players to either, choose multi-day missions that don't have to be completed within 24 hours. It's definitely part of the discussion, again, on how to...
I would say that's the #1 issue that we're going to tackle with this next kind of update, I guess you could say.
Very good. All right, we're starting to get some breakups more often from you guys, so why don't we try to wrap this up? I did want to ask about the podcast, though. I know that you guys had restarted it, but I don't know what the current status is on that.
We were just talking about that before this. Because did you guys end up doing a November one?
We didn't do one last month, and a lot of it was, we were doing one weekly, and for us, 3 p.m. was a great time on a Friday because we were still working, we could finish, and we're done with our day. Well, for most people, you can't really take a break to listen to Rob and I talk about nothing sometimes. And so we took a break for a while, a pretty long while. And now the idea is it's a little bit less on the schedule, but we're trying to do one that at least covers the month or kind of covers 1 month and looks forward to the next. Going into next year, hopefully we can kind of
stabilize that schedule a little bit. Because again, we did one after MHQ Bash, but I don't believe we did one in November.
No.
I would think one would come out in December, but again, the upside and downside to that is usually by waiting a month, there's so much content to cover. And so we've been trying to work on our accessibility, and so I usually get tasked with writing the captions for all of these video casts, which is not an easy project. So
YouTube doesn't like the word Munzee.
They do not. They do not. But so again, we're it's definitely a project that we want to continue because we do think it helps explain the information as well as showcase a little bit of our personality, so that we can continue that kind of fun personal side that the company has held with its players.
Excellent. And where can they find those?
Those are actually on our YouTube page, so you can get them there, and then we also post them on the Munzee blog.
Very good. Anything else that you think we should talk about before you guys take off?
Again, I haven't seen the red sniper dot on my forehead yet.
No, yeah.
Probably best to quit while we're ahead before we release more space too.
Well, I guess since the last time I think you and Rob spoke, Wallaby 2.0 was released.
Yeah, you're wearing a Wallaby shirt.
Yeah, you like it. So we released it on Android and iPhone. They've been working tirelessly at getting updates. Robbie, who is manager of Wallaby, and one of our developers, Donovan, who's basically been tied to it this entire time. Every day looking for something new. I don't even know how many updates they've pushed out since then.
Yeah, they've pushed out quite a few. Again, they're have been working kind of as a small staff, but we actually just did our some quarterly training recently, and a lot of focus has been on expanding that development process. So Robbie's got some cool stuff that's going to be coming out soon. So for all you Wallaby players, keep your heads up.
Yeah, and if you haven't played Wallaby, it's a virtual card collecting game that has a bit of a geolocation aspect to it, and we definitely recommend you check it out. It's like we always say with all of our games, everything's not for everyone, but it's a really cool aspect of our company that doesn't always get the love it should sometimes, I guess you could say.
It's got some really awesome artwork. The lead artist there, Andy Cameron, has such a cool, distinct style. So if nothing else, it's cool just to peruse through and check out all the different sets.
Yeah, we've been hooked on that over here for a while. And it's definitely still got some bugs to be worked out, but fun game. And my wife is like totally hooked on it. So that's one of the reasons why I keep playing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Robbie was willing to, or basically asked us if you want to talk to him, he's willing to jump on and talk about it with you guys as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should probably get him on at some point in the future as well. All right. Thank you very much, Matt and Dylan. It was a pleasure getting both you guys on and get a little bit of update and some behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you guys so much for having us.
Yeah, it was great to talk to you guys, and maybe we'll kick Rob out again one time and come back and say hi.
Yes.
Anything.
Sounds like a plan.
Wait,
Awesome.
I might have been too excited about that. Sorry, Rob.
All right.
Yeah, what's that red dot on your forehead, Chris?
There it is. There it is.
How do you find me down here?
In your secret bunker.
Yes, exactly.
All right, patrons, we wanted to let you know, you should have gotten an email from us talking about it, but Patreon is changing the way they're doing their fee structure. So you guys are now going to be paying the processing fee of 2.9% plus 35 cents. So your contributions are going to cost more. The upside is we're going to be able to keep more of that. So you might want to go and change those pledge amounts. I was about to call them contributions, but they call them pledges. So change those pledge amounts to better reflect what you're actually willing to donate. We really appreciate all of these donations and totally understand with these increased fee structures why some of you either can't or don't want to continue supporting the show through Patreon. But thanks so much for that support. And a reminder that the next patron hangout is going to be Tuesday, December 19th at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And I'm sure we're going to be having some discussions about that and a whole bunch more.
You better believe it. And so it's same bat time, same bat station as you're watching right now. Well, not quite, but close. You know, I tell you time and time again how much work Daryl puts into scheduling these upcoming shows. Now, next week, we're talking how tech changes caching, number 2, with our good friend Shermanator 18. December 21st, this is going to be a fun one. It's Foolish Cachers with the Waysiders. That's Andy and Jim. We want to know the silly mistakes that you've made while out caching. Maybe while out Munzeeing, you know, you've run out of gas, you've went the wrong way. Maybe it's something a little more serious than just being silly, but you never know. And it's your chance to win those magic rival tags that you've been hearing so much about. December 28th is another randomize. That's randomize 64. And let's see, Lizik, I can't quite pronounce it, but I'm going to work on that. I'm going to come up with a pronunciation for that one. And this is going to be with Scott Burks and Shorty Knits.
So check the Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com or through social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniacs shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniacs shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Zuffenar and Daryl Wanberg. This show is copyright 2017 by Daryl Wanberg. All rights reserved.
Cash with the Cachemaniacs.